Yeah, I wasn't lying in the thumbnail. That's really how big a woodland mansion is compared to this stuff. But Daxus, what even is this big dust stuff? Bigstone. You mean Bigstone, not big dust stuff. It's literally written out on the wall behind me. How did you not see that? Anyway, dear viewers, all of these things you see behind me are custom redstone-like components made in vanilla Minecraft by yours truly. Each component I made is on a 16 by 16 block scale and simulates the desired functionality using redstone. Okay, yes, I did say this wasn't a redstone video in the title, and yes, I did just say that the entire topic of this video actually does use redstone, but keep watching. I'll explain what I mean by that. You can take my word for it. Alright, now that we're both on the same page, what even is Bigstone, and why did I make it? At its core, Bigstone is just redstone, but used in a way that makes it feel like something completely new. And since it is just redstone, anyone can contribute. And don't worry, by the end of the video, I will definitely show you how to do that. But before you can go off and have fun making your own components, which you will definitely be able to do, you're going to need to be able to understand a bit more about Bigstone and how to use it. Remember how I said that every component is 16 by 16? Well, that wasn't arbitrary. That was so that each component could perfectly fit inside of its own chunk, which makes it a lot easier to align each component to each other. As you can see, every single component I've placed here is aligned to a chunk. These are all of the actual components I made, and there are also decorative, supersized wool blocks over there. How about we make some stuff with this? Alright, I'm gonna start with just the very basics to give you an idea of what you can do with this. This is just gonna include a lever, a lamp, and 2 basic dust shapes. Nothing crazy. All of what I'm about to do should feel very similar to redstone. To start, I'm gonna go select a lever, which I'm gonna use Axiom to do, so then I don't have to rebuild every single component every time I want to place one down. Chunk borders, once again, make this very easy to align to where I want them to be. There we go. And now we can select a dust shape. There are several different types, each with different functionalities, but I'm going to start with the very basic, which is just the straight dust wire. Moving this into place, you can see how this is supposed to connect. The lever gives a comparator output, which is going to connect to this target block on the wire. The dust is 2-directional, so no matter how I rotate it, it's going to work the exact same. So I'm just going to connect that there and paste it. Now you can see that when I activate the lever by standing on it, the dust is going to power. Now let's say that I want to add a 90-degree turn to this. Well, we can do that by selecting the turn component and moving it over and dragging it into place. But this is a left turn. What if we want a right turn? As you can see, there is only one turn component, which is that left turn. Like I said, every single wire that is meant purely to carry signals is two-way, so I can just rotate it, move it over a little bit, and just like that, now it's a right turn. This is a good time to mention that there is no signal strength limit with this wire, so I could just continue this on if I wanted to, but let's stop here and let's take an output from this. To do that, we can, for example, copy a lamp to be the output. This lamp can take an input from any side, so it doesn't matter how I rotate it, and it will function the exact same. Pasting into place and turning on the lever, we can see that the lamp will turn on. Turning off the lever, and as expected, the lamp turns off. This is a very basic demonstration of Bigstone, but it gives you a good idea of what you can do with it. Alright, now let's try something a little bit more complicated. How about a 4-bit binary counter? That sounds pretty complicated, but it's totally doable. However, it will require that we introduce a couple new components, specifically the copper toggle, which acts like a copper bulb, and the inverter, which acts like a redstone torch. Go figure how they work inside. However, since this example is getting a little bit more complicated, I'm going to show what I'm trying to recreate using redstone before I start trying to make it with Bigstone. Alright, this is what I'm trying to recreate. As you can see, every time I activate the lever, it counts up by 1 in binary. Okay, so I've given us a lever to start with this time, and so we're going to just try to recreate what was just shown with redstone. So I'm going to start with a copper toggle. This one is not bidirectional. This side with the small 2x4 copper bulb rectangle is the input, and the other side is the output. So you need to get it in that direction. It will not work like this. So next, a new dust shape. This is the splitter. It has one input, also once again consistently labeled with the copper bulb 2x4 rectangle input. This will take that one input and split it across all three outputs that are labeled with the red nether bricks. And then we can clone this a couple of times. There we go. And then we can add our inverters. And then we can clone in our lamps. And now this should be done. So if I go back to the lever and cycle it, we will see the first lamp turn on. If we do that again, the next lamp will turn on, and do that a couple of more times, and we will see the third lamp turn on, all the way over there. So this is a 4-bit binary counter made with Bigstone. Okay, now that we've gone through two different examples of how to use Bigstone, let's go through some new components. Specifically, there are 3 components that don't really have vanilla equivalents, those being the chain lamp, heavy repeater, and chance block. Okay, now that this is all set up, I can show you how the chain lamp works. It's rather similar to the regular lamp, but instead of having 4 inputs, it has 3 inputs and 1 output. So basically, it can take in power from any of these 3 sides, and then it will also output that signal on this side, which is marked with this extra little larger notch piece. This means it can connect to other lamps in a large chain, given the name chain lamp, and it can also output to dust. So here I've set up a little example, and I've also used some vertical dust, because why not? So you can see here, when I activate the lever, all of them will activate in a chain, and then I'll activate the dust at the end. And then deactivation, same thing. Note that they do have a small delay between connecting, because I thought that they might be a little bit too overpowered if they did it instantly. So unlike dust, that does work instantly, these have, I believe, a 2-tick delay between giving out the signal. Speaking of delays, we've got the repeaters. I didn't cover either of these, but they're similar enough that I can group them together. This repeater is supposed to be like the regular vanilla repeater that has 4 delays that you can toggle with this pressure plate on the side. So you've got 1 tick, 2 ticks, 3 ticks, and then 4 ticks before it cycles back to 1 tick. And then you've got the heavy repeater, which is basically that repeater, but with a lot more delay. So the first notch is 5 ticks, then it goes 10 ticks, 15 ticks, 20 ticks, and then back to 5. So it's basically a lot more compact than on some builds where with regular redstone you would just chain a long line of 4-tick repeaters because you wanted a specific extra long delay. So here you can, with Bigstone, you can use the heavy repeater to get more compact long delays. And here's a quick example of that. On the left, you can see we have the regular repeater, and on the right, we have the heavy repeater. Now, if I set all of these to their longest delays, and then activate them, you can see that the regular repeater activated the lamp relatively quickly, and the heavy repeater took a lot longer. And then finally, our last component, the chance block. This one is supposed to be an easy way to add randomization to circuits. It has 3 inputs and 1 output. the output is this side that shows the 1, and the 3 inputs are the other 3 sides. The cool part is that the number on the side actually means something. For instance, on this side that shows a 5, that means that if you give power to this side, it has a 1 in 5 chance of giving an output. Similarly, on the 2 side, activate this and you'll get a 1 in 2 chance of it giving an output, and finally on the 3 side, it has a 1 in 3 chance of giving an output when powered. You may have also noticed that those 3 sides, 5, 2, and 3, are all prime numbers. That was intentional because it means that by chaining multiple of these chance blocks together, you can make most other numbers. For instance, if you wanted a 1 in 12 chance, you could just chain 2 2s and then 1 3. And then if you want a 1 in 7, have fun! And here's an example of that. Here it's set to the 1 in 2 chance, so if I activate it once, you'll see that that time it didn't power. If I try again, this time it did power, and it's going to give an output as a short pulse. That's all the components, but the video isn't done yet. First of all, if you want to play around with these components yourself, I made a tutorial world where you can have all of the components listed, some examples of how to use them, and a large info book about each component if you didn't watch the video or if you'd want more info. You can find the world download on my Discord server, where you can also ask questions about Bigstone, share your own components, or just hang out and talk about redstone. There should be an invite link in the description if you do want to join. Thanks for watching till the end of the video. Bye!